Now, what do you do if you have no Sonic, no TARDIS? What do you have left? Well, you always have words. What can words do? Everything. Hey folks, time for a Doctor Who list, and this one was selected by my supporters over on Patreon. When I have a list that I don't have like something that I need to do because of timing for one reason or another, I like to offer it up to them and see what they want. So I'm going to try and give you my picks for the 10 best Doctor speeches from Doctor Who. Part of the reason this took me so long to even think about getting around to was I had a really hard time trying to figure out, well, first off, what qualifies as a speech? Like trying to define it. Because like when I did say my ranking of companions, I made for myself a very rigid definition of companion. I started trying to do that, trying to define what qualifies as a speech in Doctor Who, but some of the most memorable things are just only a few lines long. So, I had to throw it out. I had to give up trying to rigidly define what qualifies as a speech. And I basically just went with any dialogue exchange where the Doctor talks for more than a couple like 2 or 3 sentences, more than that. And it really jumped out at me. That was it. And I didn't even count the sentences. So some of them might not even meet that criteria, but that was in my head. And there were so many options, I seriously considered doing a top 10 for every Doctor. But honestly, that felt like a cop-out. This was hard to come up with. This was hard to rank. And I'm probably going to second guess this as soon as it's out. And there are going to be a million suggestions in the comments of what I should have included instead of what I did. But we're going to move forward anyway with the top 10 Doctor speeches. Starting with number 10, Why Don't You Just Die? Christopher Eccleston, Series 1, Dalek. There were a number of options from this episode, particularly in regards to his conversations with the Dalek. And there are other moments that don't quite land for me. Like when he has his conversation, initially with the Dalek when it's locked up, and the Doctor's kind of yo-yoing back and forth on how he feels. It doesn't read quite right here, though. This is raw. And you feel all the pain that he has welled up and tied to these creatures. That he may have been the one who ultimately used the moment, or didn't, we find out later, spoilers, but he is facing the thing that drove him to have to do that. And that carries a lot of baggage, and all that baggage comes out.
Rid the universe of your filth! Why don't you just die?
So good. Number 9, Look Me Up. This is from Series 4, the episode Forest of the Dead, David Tennant. Now, David Tennant had more than his fair share of basically, I'm a badass speeches. This, for me, is the best, though, of those. I would say of that type in general, definitely of that type from Tennant. It really does resonate where he, again, you feel the pain. He's hit his limit. Like, I'm done with what is going on now. And you don't know who you're messing with. So I'm giving you a chance to find out before something goes really badly for you.
I'm the Doctor, and you're the biggest library in the universe. Look me up.
Love it. Number 8, I Carry Them With Me. This is from The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Series 11, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. This is the only entry for Jodie Whittaker on this list. I wish that she had more memorable speeches. It does seem like a lot of the time she gets saddled with just the technobabble or the historical detail information. But this was a really well captured moment. And this is towards the end of the episode where after Grace has passed away and, the Doctor gets asked, have you ever lost anyone? Of course she has. She says, but I carry them with me.
So even though they're gone from the world, they're never gone from me.
That's wonderful and sweet and rings so true for almost any doctor, but especially for this one. That's a really great moment. Number 7. Something that most people probably wouldn't classify as a speech, and even if they did, most people wouldn't put on a top 10. But I'm going to, for my personal reasons, which I will explain. I could survive 30 feet from the Satan pit. This is where he is being lowered down, and he's talking over the intercom. He hits the end of the cable, and he says, it could be miles to go yet.
Or could be 30 feet and no way of telling. I could survive 30 feet.
The reason I had to put this on the list is because this moment is the reason I got into Doctor Who. I've told this story before, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the very first moment of Doctor Who that I saw that made me go, I need to start watching this, was the latter half of this episode, and that moment specifically. I might not even be a Whovian. I definitely wouldn't have started being one when I did, if not for that moment. I've got to get it recognition here. Number 6. One that most people probably thought was going to be a bit higher, and that is the scale model of war speech from the Zygon Inversion, Peter Capaldi, Series 9. This is a doozy. Like, if you're going to talk speeches, this is the big one. Definitely in terms of amount of time dedicated to it. It's impressive, and the delivery from Capaldi is absolutely fantastic, and he goes through so much, lecturing, being flippant when it makes his point better.
It's not a game, sweetheart, and I mean that most sincerely.
Why are you doing this?
You set this up. Why?
Because it's not a game, Kate.
The only reason it doesn't go higher is, honestly, on a rewatch, it goes on a little longer than it probably needs to. And towards the very end, when he kind of has his, when I close my eyes, I hear more screams than you could ever count. It doesn't quite ring as legit as everything up to that point. It doesn't lose me. It doesn't lose the moment, but it does bring it down just a little bit. But man, save the entire episode. Save the entire 2-parter, honestly. Number 5. We all change when you think about it. This is the farewell speech from Matt Smith's 11th Doctor in The Time of the Doctor. An episode I don't really care for, but dang it, this is a good sign-off. And it rings especially true to me as someone who has changed a lot over the years.
And that's okay, that's good. You've got to keep moving so long as you remember all the people that you used to be.
It's a terrific sign-off moment. And it really does a lot to sweeten his exit in a story that otherwise didn't do much for me, but I wouldn't change that regeneration scene and that closing speech. I wouldn't change a word of it. It's perfect. Number 4. I know what this face is for. From The Girl Who Died. Again, Peter Capaldi, Series 9. This is after Isildur has appeared to pass away, and the Doctor is looking in this pool of water at his face, and he suddenly realizes where he knows the face from and why he has it. In some ways, this speech gets boosted up because of the weight of history that it is carrying with it, because it was implied from his very first episode in Deep Breath that there was a reason for this face, and we're getting payoff on it in an entire series later. So there is some historical weight to this. It's not just a moment in this episode. It is a moment that feels like a culmination of a lot that has come before. And I also love it as a statement of purpose.
To remind me, to hold me to the mark. I'm the Doctor, and I save people.
Because he's wearing the face of someone he saved. So that every time he sees his reflection anywhere, that is what he sees. You saved this person. You save people. That is what you do. And that's wonderful. I love the sentiment. I love the moment. I love it as a culmination of things that have been going on with Capaldi in his series and a half up to that point. Number 3, Pile of Good Things. Vincent and the Doctor. This was an episode I didn't totally get the first time I watched it, but it is an episode that its meaning has deepened for me as years have gone on, and every time I rewatch it, it has such a great understanding of the complexities and the difficulties of caring deeply about someone with severe depression. And this speech especially, and I think it's one that a lot of people would benefit from hearing, because it is letting you know that even if someone you love loses that battle, ultimately, that doesn't make any time that you spent with them where you brought some kind of joy, it doesn't make that a waste. Even if you cannot save them, even if you cannot prolong the life that they are leaving or make it immensely and perfectly better,
We definitely added to his pile of good things.
and that has value in and of itself. Number 2. You better have expected this one to be on here somewhere.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives!
It's short, but there is so much weight behind that because the joy that Christopher Eccleston in Series 1, in the Doctor dances, the joy that he injects into that moment, into those words, carries the weight of every day that he didn't save everyone. And actually, it's the moments leading up to it that truly make it. It's because he goes up to this kid.
Oh, come on. Give me a day like this. Give me this one.
He does this basically quiet prayer before trying to take off the mask to see if he actually did it. And that moment, that pause of like, I don't know if I succeeded, because there were plenty of times that I haven't. And then to take it off, and the joy and the rapture on his face as he gets to declare that everybody lives. It is wonderful and amazing. It's one of my favorite moments in the show. But it doesn't quite take my number 1 spot. So for my number 1 Doctor speech, I had to give it to Peter Capaldi, Series 10, The Doctor Falls.
And above all, it's kind. It's just that.
Shouting at the Master and at Missy as to why he's trying to fight, even though he does not expect to win. And he lays it out plainly. I don't do it to hurt somebody. I don't do it to beat somebody. I don't do it because it works, because it hardly ever does. I do it because it's kind. In some ways, it feels like springboarding off of the pile of good things. You don't do the right thing because it's going to change the outcome. You don't do the right thing because you're going to win. You do it because it's the right thing to do. You do it because it's kind. And I love that. I love that sentiment in general. I love it as a culmination for Capaldi's Doctor specifically, who is my favorite Doctor. I love it as, again, in kind of a statement of purpose for who the Doctor is and why he does what he does. If you're going to try and explain the Doctor's actions ever, that's a big task to take on. But encapsulating in the concept of, I do it because it's kind. Yes. That is being a doctor. That is being a compassionate person trying to help because you can, maybe for just an instant. And even if you can't, the kind thing is to try. So that's my pick for the top 10 Doctor speeches. Now, this is a video that does not have a sponsor, which means I'm going to shout out another creator. And this time, we're going to go with a WhoTuber, fittingly enough. Dominic Martin aka the Who Chaser. He is a wonderful presence. He's a terrific Whovian. He's a great cosplayer. He's been redoing lately his videos that are guides to cosplaying as specific doctors, which are wonderful and very informative if you yourself want to get into cosplay. If you are a Whovian or you watch YouTube videos about Doctor Who and you're not already subscribed to him, please do it. He also plays the Doctor in a number of fan films known as The Purple Doctor. And creators like him are a big part of what inspired me to come up with my own look for the Doctor if I got to just be my own Doctor. So check him out. It's definitely worth your time. That's it for this one. What did you think of my ranking? Whatever your thoughts are, whether you would have changed the order, whether there are things you're shocked that I left off, whether there are things I put on the list that you thought had no business being there, whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I have a Patreon, which is what enables me to keep these lights on right now. So that is a huge help. But even if you're not able to assist me in that way, liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, hitting the bell, they all help me out. So I greatly appreciate all of that. But you also don't have to do any of it. It would be kind, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. My words are not quite that powerful. And at the end of the day, you're the council, and I'm only running the meetings. So until next time, this council is adjourned.